everybody, welcome back. I am a hot mess today compared to the last video I did where I was all dolled up. I just got back from the gym. I have literally just enough time to vlog before I throw on my winter clothes and go pick up my daughter from school. So this is probably going to be a fairly short video, I hope. You know me, I like to ramble, but I've only got 20 minutes to film, so let's do it. So first of all, like I said, I just got back from the gym. I joined a Planet Fitness near me, and I actually got the black card so I can use the massage tables whenever I want, and I can use their classes as much as I want. They don't really seem to be so much classes as somebody will come around and like show you different machines, so it's kind of like a teach you how to use and not really like a class. Like it's not like a spin class or a yoga class. It's like a demonstration and then do without, it's not, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it doesn't really seem like a class to me, if that makes sense. So, so far I would say I highly recommend it if you're thinking about joining a gym. It's inexpensive. Mine's really close to my house. You get the black card, and if you go to like your home gym and it's too crowded, I have like 6 Planet Fitnesses near me because of where I live, and it's great. So weight loss is going okay. I haven't lost a lot of poundage. I've lost about 3 pounds this week, which doesn't sound like much, but when you have a significant amount to lose and you've been working out every single day like I have and been watching what you're eating very carefully like I have, 3 pounds is a little disappointing. But I have lost 1.5 inches off of my waist and 1/2 inch off of my arms. So I think for now I'm just going to accept that it's coming off a bit slower than I'd hoped, but I am making significant progress. So, quick tech update. I'm hopefully going to be getting some new lighting soon. I was watching Graveyard Girl. It was an older video. It was before she did her most recent move sometime last year, and she had these 2 little craft lamps that were OT lights. I'm kind of hoping they're not going to be that expensive. I think if I can get a 50% off coupon and it doesn't say you can't use it on OT lights, that I might be able to get at least 1, or probably would need 2, but for now maybe 1 to light this side because I can have the window open if I'm filming in the morning. So housekeeping is done. Let's move on to the topic of today's video. I'm going to be reviewing a book. Maybe not reviewing, just generally talking about a book, because this is a book that's been around for quite a long time, as you'll see by the condition this particular book is in. And I don't think anybody needs a full-on review of this book other than to say it's really good, you should go read it. It's a Douglas Adams book. I've talked about me reading it before, but it is Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. And as you can see, the copy that I am borrowing from my friend Chris, my friends Chris and Maya, it's very well loved. There's no back. While I was borrowing it, the front came off. So Chris said it was fine. They'll tape it and it'll survive probably a good few more years or a few more readings. But I would say there's a good reason this book is very well loved. It's a Douglas Adams book. Douglas Adams is always funny. I had only ever read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and I think I also read So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. I'm honestly not sure. I read one other of his books, but I read it while I was pregnant with my daughter, and let me tell you, pregnancy brain is a real thing. And yeah, I think it was So Long and Thanks for All the Fish, but it may have been The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. But pregnancy brain is a real thing, and I don't remember anything about the book. I just remember having it and reading it, and that it was a Douglas Adams book that wasn't Hitchhiker's Guide. Moving on. This book is, I would say, kind of in a sci-fi fantasy sort of situation, in my opinion. It's definitely more sci-fi, very heavily sci-fi leaning, but because of it doesn't have like as much of what you would expect if all you've ever read is Hitchhiker's Guide from Douglas Adams. It is mostly on Earth. I don't want to get too in depth because a lot of the stuff happens near the end of the book, but it is set mostly on Earth. There's like an opening scene that's obviously on another planet, and it's one of those books that as you read it, you don't really realize what's happening, and it all falls into place in like the last maybe 20, 30 pages of the book, everything falls into place. But you're not frustrated by that. Like, there are some books I've read where the mystery is very frustrating and I just couldn't handle the mystery because it was like, I need something, give me some tidbits. And Douglas Adams gives you tidbits, but you don't realize you're getting them. But there's a part of your brain that does. And so as you're reading, you're like, that seems important. That seems important. But you're not sure why it seems important, and you're not sure how it's going to be important. And I like that kind of writing style. I like an author who doesn't reveal everything at once. One of the reasons I haven't published or even attempted to publish any of my books, and my novels at least, I did independently publish a collection of short stories once on lulu.com, but that doesn't really count. But one of the reasons I haven't tried to publish some of my novels is I get frustrated when we're not given tidbits, and I am not the kind of author that can hide the tidbits that well. So I just kind of start giving facts, and I have a hard time rolling them in a natural way. And so until I can kind of get a grip on that, I am not really going to be doing a lot of sharing of my own personal work. And I think part of the reason I'm so picky about that is that I read books like this that are so well written and have that mystery to them. So if you haven't read this, apparently there's also an Amazon show based on this. Now, I think this is also a series, but this is a very old copy of the book, and it only lists that this is one of the books. So I'm going to look it up. I'm going to see if it's a series. Feel free to Google it if you want. I will probably link to an Amazon for this if you want to purchase it, or you can go on Hoopla if you want to. I'm sure there's a digital copy you can read using your like library card, or even an audiobook if reading isn't something you get to do a lot of. You can pop in an audiobook when you're doing laundry, doing the dishes, driving to work, whatever you do that has time where your brain needs to be occupied but you can't really be reading. So I will definitely link to an Amazon though, and then like I said, if you have a library card for your local library, check out Hoopla or Zinio, or oh gosh, there's one more that I think you can get books from. Or maybe I'm thinking of Freegal, which is music. But whatever. The point is, there are lots of ways you can read this book or listen to this book. And I'm sure because it's Douglas Adams that the audiobook version of it is probably hilarious. And then, like I said, I think that the show is one of the Amazon shows. I'm not sure. I'm going to look that up too. I probably should have looked all of this up before I even started vlogging, but I was really excited to talk about this book. I would say after reading Hitchhiker's Guide, if you have very specific expectations from reading just Hitchhiker's Guide like I did of Douglas Adams, this is probably going to weird you out a little bit at first. The humor is the same, the voice is the same, the setting and the context and the characters are very different from what I'm used to in a Douglas Adams book. But I'd only ever read Hitchhiker's Guide that I could remember. I know I've read one other book, but it was from the same series, probably a lot of the same characters. So go into it with that mindset that this is not a Hitchhiker's Guide book, it is a Douglas Adams book, and that he is an author that is going to write in a couple of different ways. He's not just going to have that one way that he writes. So the general gist of it is, there's this guy who is possibly suspected, but we're not really sure, of the murder of his boss. And he's also kind of this work-obsessed kind of guy, and he kind of gets embroiled into some really weird stuff, and as a result he goes to see his old friend who used to go by a different name but now goes by Dirk Gently. And this guy got in some trouble a while ago. He went to jail, and it kind of ends up he's got sort of a special mind power, but they don't really go into what it is. It's almost like a, not really even a precognition, but like he just kind of knows things. He's got a very good like gut for things. And so he became a holistic detective, and they explain that in the book. I'll let the book do a lot of that talking for me. I'm not going to go into it. It's Dirk Gently is the most unlikable douchebag I have ever read. And, wait, not ever read. I've read some pretty unlikable douchebags, but for somebody who's a main character and somebody who's apparently the focus of a series, he's hilarious. He's hilarious. And he's so much fun to read, but you also kind of picture him as having a very punchable face and being very punchable. And that's kind of the way that I see him, is he's this very punchable person. And I don't know why the people around him put up with him, other than he seems to be very good at what he does. And that's kind of, I feel like Douglas Adams, I don't remember a ton about Hitchhiker's Guide. I read it when I was still living with my dad, and I had just met my husband. Literally, like, I've been dating my husband now we've been together for 13 years and married for 7, and it has been that long. Like, I read the book before my husband and I moved to New York together, and we moved to New York a little over a year after we met. So it's been a long, long time since I read the book. I've had a couple of pregnancies since then, and pregnancy brain is really bad, and I don't remember much, but I do remember that Douglas Adams, reading this book, I get the feeling that Douglas Adams always has that character who's just got this punchable kind of personality, and is like, they're unlikable, but they're so entertaining that you kind of have to like them because they're so entertaining. But I think maybe that's kind of a reflection of the people in your own life. Like, we all know that person who's punchable, but you still keep them around because they're just so much fun. And sometimes you do kind of want to punch them, but you don't do it because you also know that there's a grain of goodness in them. There's a funny, happy, nice person, and they just have a personality that's too big sometimes, right? Dirk's personality is too big all the time. But everybody in this book has some sort of personality trait, except for maybe Reg. I like him. He's just kind of a likable old man. But pretty much everybody except for Reg, who's the likable old man, seem to be kind of they have that kind of personality where there's just something about them and you don't like them. So there's Gordon, Richard, Susan, Dirk, all those characters, just, they have a trait that you don't like that part of them, or they'll say or do something or behave a certain way and it just bugs you. Susan, not so much. Susan, I understand why Susan can sometimes seem a little bit like maybe naggy, because her boyfriend is work obsessed, and even though she really cares about him, he's forgetful, and he doesn't make enough time for her, and but at the same time he also works for, I think it was Susan's brother. I think Gordon is Susan's brother, and he's a very difficult person to work for, and she knows it. So I feel like Susan could have probably struck a bit more of a balance, and she'd be a slightly more likable person. But a lot of the characters in this book are just not really that likable. I mean, Richard is a good person at heart. He always means well, and I understand that some of the stuff that he does plays into the story. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's a reason he does some of the kind of unlikable or weird or selfish things that he does. But he's also a workaholic, and he won't find the life to work balance, and he puts off some of the work that he has to do other things that are computer related, that are like his couch is stuck and he's trying to figure out with computers how to get it unstuck, and he's been working on that instead of working on what he needs to work on so he can finish it, get Gordon off his back, take a vacation with Susan. So you see what I mean? Like, everybody's got like their issues personality wise, and I feel like Douglas Adams writes that particular situation really well. Everybody in his books tend to have these weird quirks and personality traits, and it's just hard to get past them sometimes because they can just be so irritating. So anyway, I'm running out of time, so I've rambled enough. I highly suggest Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. This was the book exchange I did with my friend Chris, who read Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister. I'm going to be talking to him about whether or not he's finished it and how he liked it. So I think it's definitely in tone a very different book. We suggested some very different things to each other from mine, which is a period piece and a drama and a retelling of a fairy tale, and his, which is a Douglas Adams book, and kind of a lot of what you would expect, and also a lot of what you wouldn't expect from a Douglas Adams book, but definitely humorous and lighthearted, and even the serious bits are humorous and lighthearted. So I definitely enjoyed myself. I had a good time reading it. It's very fun. So I didn't bring it downstairs, but the next book I'm probably going to be reading, I think I'm probably going to be reading, is I'm going to be working on an H.P. Lovecraft collection that my brother-in-law lent me years ago. I've read volume 1, I'm reading volume 2. It's the Penguin collection of H.P. Lovecraft. The Tales from the Witch House and Other Stories, I think is what the one I'm reading is called. And I'll check in with that. Lovecraft can be a bit dry, and so usually I'll read 3 or 4 stories and then read something a bit lighter. I have a lot of books I'm going to be reading though, so I'll be checking in soon with the books, probably when I do my full review of Atelier, Eska, and Logi, which will probably be next week. So, thank you so much for watching. I have been vlogging regularly, but not editing as quickly. So what's probably going to happen is, when I start to catch up on editing, I will be posting once a week. I'm going to try to post on maybe Wednesdays, because my husband's home on Wednesday, so I can post it, leave it, we can go do our things and come back and I can do all my little linking and stuff. So remember to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and Pinterest. On Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, and Pinterest, I am Be My Full Moon. On Twitter and Ravelry, if you're a yarnaholic like me, I'm at Aorai, that's A-O-U-R-A-I. You can email me at bemyfullmoon@gmail.com if you have ideas for the show, if you have a book you'd like me to read, a yarn you'd like me to review, a game you'd like me to talk about, or even a show you'd like me to watch. So, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching me. I need to go pick my daughter up from school and get home before my friend Shay comes over for a visit. And I love you guys, and thanks again. Like, I know it's just me rambling about my life and my media and the things I like to do, but I appreciate you guys all listening. My husband's play is over now, so I should have a little more time. Things will even out a little bit, and I'm going to be able to spend a little bit more time with him and a little bit more time with myself, and I hope that that will show in improvements I've made on this channel. Thanks, you guys. Bye!